This business of consulting, family business advisory and consulting, what do you think has got you here? What skill sets you have to be able to consult them?
I think the biggest skill set is empathy.
I could see that there is so much of pain that they had, in their families. Apart from whatever success they had in building their business, there is also so much of pain, psychological disturbances.
And I would say, there's a saying I always keep telling, fear is good.
Fear is good. Yeah.
Good, because only fear will make you to think, okay, I have to move ahead.
I'm just curious, what are those 9 sins?
The 9 sins of family businesses are mismanaging the family conflicts.
Have you ever had any of your clients coming to you without making any of these 9 sins, or always they do some mistakes and then show to you? How is it? Or is there anyone who's proactive?
Very rarely. There is no problem, you still need it because in the future you avoid problems. It's a better, if you don't have problems, that's a better time to build a family constitution, build a family trust, because trust builds a lot of structures.
If you look at many of these young entrepreneurs who are like 5 years, 10 years old, for them, they don't get to think about the succession planning because they're already in the growth mode, survival mode.
If you want your kids to take over,
What if the second generation is not interested, uninterested? How do you approach it?
a small entrepreneur, as even a 100, 2,000 crore company, is respected because of the business he's in. He comes from a very poor background, suffering background. He has built an empire. It's very tough for him to step down.
For a first generation father, how will he balance between a meritorious employee versus the bloodline?
So it's a very good question.
To say Arun Dayanidhi is one of the youngest family business coaches in the country today.
Yeah, probably in the world.
Probably the world, maybe.
Yeah.
Hi, today I have a very special guest who has a very, very unique profession, somehow connected to the business and the economy of India. He is none other than Arun Dayanidhi. He is a family business coach and he helps large companies structure their family businesses. And he has helped many organizations, specifically in South India, in the Congo Belt. Welcome, Arun.
Yeah. Hi, Arun. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, first of all, to my audience, I think I always love to interview entrepreneurs, Arun. But today I thought, there are a lot of entrepreneurs who have scaled businesses at some particular stage. Beyond a point, they cannot actually grow their business, or they do not know how to scale their businesses. That is one problem. Another problem with entrepreneurs is that they actually forget to build the governance, the constituency of the business. They forget to do that. So the reason why I wanted to invite you for this podcast is because some of my viewers are actually entrepreneurs. Viewers are actually big entrepreneurs who have scaled businesses, who are running family businesses. This interview will be a big help for them if you could enlighten them with all your knowledge and experience that you have acquired over the years. Also, I would like to say Arun Dayanidhi is one of the youngest family business coaches in the country today.
Probably in the world.
Probably the world, maybe. Yeah. You have been featured in the Ken magazine, which is very, very popular, right, for the business in the business magazine ecosystem. So over to you, Arun. Let's have a conversation for the next 45 minutes. So you've been into this business of consulting, family business advisory and consulting. What do you think has got you here? What skill sets you have to be able to consult them?
I would say the biggest skill set is empathy and common sense. I would not rate anything high, anything less, because like anybody, I never wanted to be in this business. Technically, when I moved to Coimbatore, my only vision was, I felt a lot of companies doesn't have equity. They're not into IPOs. And I thought I started this investment banking firm. Then I said, okay, let me raise 10,000 crores of equity in the next 10, 20 years. If I could bring money, I think I will be able to solve this problem. And I think great companies can come out of the region. I would say that is very immature or an amateurish thinking of mine, where I thought money is the problem. But when I started working with people, working with a lot of families, I would say I'm fairly unsuccessful or badly unsuccessful. Then I was just trying to figure out, one incident changed my perspective of how I got into this business. Is when I met an entrepreneur who would be around 72, 73 of age. Once I completed my IPO session in 2018 mid or later, he met me at the backstage over a dinner. He said, Arun, brilliant speech. He said, I really liked what you do. Then it was a long pause. Then he asked me, I want to tell you something. Will you not mistake me? I said, no. I said, no, sir, please tell me. In Tamil, we call Anna. So, no, il palavar Anna solla. Then he said, see, I don't need this IPO. I don't need any strategy. I'm debt-free company. I run a 600, 700 crore company. I don't have any regrets. But one thing is not happening. Can you help me die peacefully?
Oh,
I was like, I didn't understand. I said, sir, what you're trying to do? He said, no, can you help me die peacefully? I said, sir, I was like dumbstruck, awestruck. I was like, I do only about IPOs and private equity. He said, no. Everybody does that. At 72, I've done a lot of mistakes in my life, in my professional life, my kids. I've got 2 daughters and a son. And my son is a very incapable person, very pampered, but he wants to run the business. But my second daughter is the most efficient of all. She works really hard. She is the one who built certain, and she's the one who ensured the company is debt free today. But I'm worried my son is not going to give up the fight. When I go and ask him, he says me, did you give this business to your sister? What rights do you have to come and advise me? He said, yes, I've done a mistake, but now I want to correct. It's too late. I lost the moral ground to advise him. My only vision is I want to eat a single meal with all my grandchildren, children at least once in a month. That's my only vision. Can you help me? I was like, Arun, if you could help me do that, if you could make me unite the family, sort out the misunderstandings, sort out the structure, make it professional so no family is involved. As a father, I have a limitation. I can advise any other family. I can't advise my own son or my own blood because I never listened to my father or whatever it is. I've done my mistakes, but I don't have a moral ground to advise him now. But I know if he goes that, it's going to be a disaster for the company and my grandchildren will go and work for somebody else. Then I decided I need some help. I don't know help. I don't get help from anybody. Then he said, Arun, if you could help in sorting, bring the family together, bringing the thinking, the understanding. Trust me, he told this word in Tamil, but I want to put it in English. A ways to a monkey's heart is through its stomach. You don't capture a monkey.
Say that again.
Else. A ways to a monkey's heart is through its stomach. You feed a monkey, it listens to you. So if you ensure there is a harmony in family, the business will listen to the family. The family will listen to the business. Today, my business is not listening to family. My family is not even listening to me or to my business. So you bring harmony, then there will be decisions come. Then we will go for IPO. We will progress. The entire progress of my whole city is stuck because nobody takes family seriously till it's too late. Help, there is no help in that region. If you could help in our Kongu region, Kongu is Coimbatore, Tirupur, Karur, Erode, Namakkal, Salem. This belt is called Kongu, which we are technically 2.7% of India's GDP, minus 10 or minus more. There's no single family who's lasted 30 years of significance in the family businesses. He asked me, could you name any companies in the last 30, 40 years who survived and still dominant in the industry? Absolutely no. Everybody has real estate. Help. This city needs a dire help. There is no one to help. If you are part of this city, you are part of this region. If you could help this, I'm telling you, Arun, you will have hundreds of IPOs coming out of the region. This is one single most reason why tier 2 towns never participate in the mainstream. Because from zero, they come very aggressively. One point of time, they get struck and they never come back. That is when, trust me, in 2019, 20, it changed my perspective of business, life, and structures. Then I understood, okay, I've been chasing the wrong rabbit. It's the family I should structure. It's the structure I should bring in. It's the culture I bring in. It's the constitution structure. Then making a surface level changes will never going to make any difference. That's why no investment banker, no merchant banker was successful in South of India, because they never addressed the real problem. That is the insecurity, the issues in the family and governance and succession planning. Then what we did is I stopped all my work. I started studying. I appointed an anthropologist. I spent all my savings, more than couple of lakhs, double-digit lakhs I've spent on anthropologists, and try to understand. I created a 2-year study on families who have gone bad, failed over. We look international case studies, global case studies, and we also spoke to a lot of people in every region. Like we spoke few people in Andhra, Khammam, Coimbatore, Tirupur, Karur, Erode, Namakkal, Salem, Thoothukudi, Tirunelveli, Chennai, Kanjipuram, Cochin. You name the cities, we have done at least 40 towns. We have done a lot of research, families. And surprisingly, we built our own principle called What Not Principle. And we created something called 9 sins of family business, like 10 commandments of Christianity. We have built something called 9. For success, there are multiple reasons for success. But when it comes to failure, it's always the same issues which plague the family businesses. That's how we started it.
So it's been how many years now for you to, do this?
I say it's been in the research and everything, we've almost spent 2 to 2.5 years, more than expected 3 years. In the last 3 years, we've been significantly focusing on this. And I would say we've been fairly successful. We've worked with more than 9 families so far. And surprisingly, I work even in north of India. There are families that I've done. Now we are almost having a discussion with multiple families. I've also started building my team now. So I'm not going to be a single man. So we are building a business, a firm very focused on helping family-run businesses of Bharat. That is technically the smaller towns across South India.
Yeah, now I get it, Arun. It's not just scaling businesses, but also, most importantly, the empathy, understanding the pain of the founder, and bringing the entire family together and keeping them binded. I think that's the most important thing. Anybody, when they're passing the legacy to the next generation, that would be the most important thing for them. I totally get that. But also, can you share any case studies of from your past experiences? Apart from just bringing the family together and building the constitution, how it has actually helped them grow their business and probably go on IPO or scale their businesses. That would really get a better understanding for us.
Yeah, there are multiple examples, I would say, in this span of last 3 years. There are many good and there are many bad also. Which one you want?
I want to look at the best.
Yeah. Best, okay. So I wouldn't say something best. The best is always yet to come, and we always go with an open mind. There are multiple cases. See, for example, there is one family with 6 brothers, 1 partner, and around 17 kids, right? It's a very large firm. They started working with a lot of family advisors. Somewhere it never clicked because it's 17 young kids, ranging between 16 to 27. So it's
All
11 youngsters. See, somewhere it's a perception. Life runs on perception. Like how the elder generation thinks, okay, as a 41-year-old man, can this young lad, I call myself young, but still, yeah. Can this young lad come and make a difference in our family? Will he be able to manage the emotions and the complex structures? But what didn't work for me in a favor started working in favor when I started working with the next generation. Because the key aspect is the next generation has to trust the person who's coming and helping them, because mostly they always think I am the henchman or the right-hand man of the father. And the more old you are, the more the perception says, yes, he's
more biased you are.
More biased. Yeah. The kids are more biased towards them, so they're not willing to share. If the second generation is not willing to talk about it, I think that section becomes a failure. I think what worked against me started working with me, because wherever the young lads, up to 30, 40, I'm able to understand their lifestyle, their pain, because I'm part of them. And I understand if somebody says, I want to party on my weekends, I understand, right? I will not say you cannot party. No, I'm not a father. I advise them, I don't judge them. And I'm pretty non-judgmental in my life.
But how do you handle the fathers?
See, I'm very
because you're young lad, right? For them, how will they relate?
See, I'm a guy who understands the father's ecosystem better. For example, there's one family which I'm coaching where the grandfather is 92 years old. I'm coaching him. He was the first one who told me that young guys cannot make a difference. But he attended my workshop. It's a 4.5-hour workshop. We call it as family breakout health checkup, health model. When he attended for our session, he came and hugged me and said, "Thank God I was able to sit in this workshop. Otherwise, just like any other madman, I would have done some nasty stuff to the family. Now I know where to leave the ego, where to let my kids run. Even at 92, he's running. He has certain hold in the family. Just imagine, at 92, somebody is holding a 62 holding a 32. It's a chain of events. And the most successful case study, I would say, is that family. We almost 1.5 years past. We have almost, the beauty of that family is 11 kids doesn't want to be part of the business. It's only the 6 kids. But the 11 kids belong to the most powerful members of the family. So it means the less powerful family sons are coming into the business, but the most powerful family members of the family's kids are not coming into the business. Simple reason. We go into the family psychology of the kids. Less successful members of the family has spent more time in the family with the kids. Whereas the most successful father in the family has not spent, they have not been to their convocation, they have not been to their important dates. So they don't want to be like their father. So they don't want to be the miserable father
For their children.
for their children.
So they do not
Perspective
want to be
change. Now,
business, yeah.
because they have got assets, they have the lifestyle, they don't have nothing to worry. For a father who started the business, they had nothing in their life. The only motto was to be successful, to feed the family, and they've come this far. Whereas a kid who has got a silver spoon, even though they're ambitious, for them the lifestyle matters a lot. But how do you convince them over a period of time? This lifestyle comes out of the work culture that father had. So how do you make a father to understand a kid and his way of working? He wants to say, I will complete my work. Father says, you should be the first man in the company, last man out of the company. Kid says, I will be the last man in the company, I'll be the first man to go out. Still, I get my job done. What's the problem? That's one problem I'm telling you, right? Finance, spendings, marketing. Father would have never spent on marketing stuff, but son would try because they will say, as a father, it's a fatherly instinct that it not let, I don't want my son or daughter to get hurt. But that's not how nature works. Nature offers the capable, not the good people. It's only the most capable one wins the race, right? Father would have done so much of mistakes. He would have lost so much of money trusting people, but he will not give that. The first generation will not give that benefit of doubt or that access for the sons and daughter to fail and learn. They don't want the kids to fail, right? But this is the fatherly emotion. Even though I'm telling this, if you put me to advise my kids, I would do the same thing. I don't want my son and daughter to fail or get hurt. So I always tell my wife I should appoint somebody else, family advisor for our family in future, for manage my family. That is how it is, right? But with that family, the complexity is the most powerful guys' sons are not getting to the business. They are carefree. They want to enjoy their life. At the same time, the business is expanding. They need more people in. And there is only 3 units of the business where 7 kids had to sit. They were able to manage because they were brothers. They had a relationship. They know they'll fight, they'll still patch, and they'll run the show. But the second generation are cousins. They're not brothers anymore, right? So how do you manage the cousin consortium? The kids, the Gen Z kids, the millennials, right? It's tough.
Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha is coming. So it's going to be the toughest thing. So it means modern days have modern issues. And out of that, there is one family where one of the son is part of a certain group. For example, they are queers. First of all, I was the first person he shared that information that he had a different sexual practice. How can I dismiss it? And father was the most powerful man in the business. He started crying, started fighting, threatening the son. And amidst me, I was there then, and we kind of created a model for that family. See, it's a new age problem. There is no case study of similar which have happened or it is not reported. How do I solve it? It's only empathy. See, both are not wrong. He wants to choose his life. Father is worried that his son will be questioned or he will be insulted for his life. So he said, we also understood. Eventually the family accepted over a period of time. But the father couldn't agree that, okay, I might agree, my family might agree, but I don't think so. If I'm putting him in my business, he will be tired, my son will be tired of proving that he is capable. And people always look at his sexuality and not his capability. How do I solve it? Then we came with the understanding. I also kind of spoke to the son over a period of time, couple of months. Then I also made him understand that you can't win over the nature. Nature is always against us, right? You don't try to win the nature. Try to create your own path. So we decided what is the next strategy for the business. We created a separate family trust where he will be part of the trust, where a 25 crore is allocated into his bank account. Whatever business he is supposed to start, that new business venture will be started by the son directly. So he'll be the first employee. He gets a $1 million as the first check. And every year he gets, for a period of 3 years, he gets that 25 crores. Then there's no equity from the family. Then after that, whatever investment, the family will have business will have an equity in the business. Otherwise, so he has to, in the 3 years, he has to perform, build his own team, build his own respect. The vision is after 5 to 6 years, when he built into a 100, 200 crore company, then this group will amalgamate that company part of buy out this firm. So he also gets a partial exit. Also, he also gets the money. But because he's going to build from scratch, he gets the respect. When you build as a leader, nobody is going to question your sexuality or personal likings, right?
Absolutely.
So we taught him how to win respect. These are cases that we done. I would feel, if not, I was not there, what would have happened to the family? What if the son would have not told this? How chaotic his life could have been. And apart from money, apart from the work, somewhere the feeling of that you are able to help someone who never get a help. See, sometimes it's very tough to be at the top. It's very tough to be a CEO, a managing partner, because you have to cry alone. Of course, you cry inside a Lexus or a BMW, but there is no one to listen to your ears. You don't know whom to tell. I know a lot of families who don't even share it to their own sons, daughters, even to a spouse, because he thinks they don't understand. They need help, but they don't know how to ask. That is, then after started working like this, then one point of time, I've taken this as purpose of my life. Initially, I started doing it for IPOs and private equity. Then when I started doing it, then actually I found the purpose of my life. My purpose of life, if you look at my past, all my family generation, we have 23 teachers in my family, from my great father to grandmother to everybody was teachers. Probably it is in my DNA where you like teaching, you like telling people. And the biggest case study I would say is there's one family. I remember she should be around 65, 66, 68 now. She called me once. I've been working with the family for more than 1.5 years. And she never speaks the entire. Whatever we say, she will agree to it. One fine day she called me and I started seeing she in a family council meeting, she started sharing without any bias. She started speaking loud, her opinion. And I started seeing tremendous change in her. She called me once, she told me, Arun, when I used to grow up, I used to tell everything to my father. My father was the only man who will agree, he will not make me wrong. And he will try to explain things. When my father went away in his life, my father went to the heavenly abode, then it was only God left. Of course, my husband is a fantastic man, but still, there are certain things I can't share with him because it creates animosity and structure in the family. Because I'll be judged as a woman working in those days. We were always judged, so I never share all my feelings. That's why I keep saying yes to everything. I also have feelings to say no, but I never said no. I never fought because there is unheard things in my life. Only after you came into our family, you gave me the confidence to share things that my feelings can also be heard by the family. Then I also might be heard. For me, I don't want things to happen, but at least I want somebody to hear me out. I've been sharing what I've not shared in the last 15 years in my life. That's why you see me sharing more things than others, because it's been like a dam that I've been holding it for. She told me, after my father, after God, it's you who made me do it. And a 60-year-old lady referring you to equaling you to her father is something a money can't buy.
Absolutely.
Right? And that feeling, I'm telling you, it's like it's for me, it's become a kick, right? I want that kick, right? So I got so deep into it. And I know there's one very famous hospital chairman once asked me, don't you get stressed, Arun? This is not the age you manage all this. Then I told him, actually started thinking I never got stress out of it, because stress will come from what you can deliver, but you can't do, right? When you know you can do something, you work hard, even 24 hours, you'll never get a stress. So it means there are complex situations. There are situations where beyond control, but yes, with empathy, with good listening, with neutral viewpoint, I don't think so there is a problem which cannot be solved, because 95% people are good in nature, but they become the situational warriors, prisoners of their own situation. It's insecurity. There's one case where there were three brothers. Out of the two brothers, they never used to speak to each other for 15 years. They come in for functions, they never meet each other. Some misunderstanding. Then we had a discussion, we started working, but they still refused. For even 8 months, they never came to the family council. If the other person was there, the other person won't come in. But I was consistent. We started working, he started family seeing. One point of time, I created a concept saying every 3 months a family has to go for a 2-day trip. We made it compulsory. The whole elder generation said waste of time. I said, please do it. You appointed me, you paid me. At least listen to me or you deduct that expenses from my cost also. I'm ready to give my 50% discount, please do it. On a lighter note, but they agreed to it. They said, initially they're not agreeing. But when they started traveling to Ooty, Kodaikanal, right? Then 6 months once they were supposed to go over. And we created something called every birthday party in the family has to be attended by the whole family. All right. Then we also created a funnel saying that if 2 events in 2 months is missed, skipped, there is a salary cut in their whoever done it, they have a 25% salary cut.
There is also
from the
penalty
business.
for that.
We've done it. We've done it. But still people have done it. They said, oh, cut my salary. What? I have a lot of money. Do it. They've done it. But they started going to meetings. But sometimes, even if you're an enemy, okay, if you spend too much of time together, what will you do? You'll start at least speaking to something, right? So these brothers went to Ooty or Kodaikanal, I think, after 8th or 9th month with a lot of hesitation. They had a walk in the evening, right? So someone has to help something, and for food or something, it was the last call, and everybody slept. And the younger brother has to go and call the brother. He went and called him. The food is going to get over. Can you come? With hesitation. They had a 2-minute walk, 2-3 minute walk to the restaurant other side. That 3-minute walk they had, and they spoke. It broke the entire silence between the two brothers.
Wow.
They stopped speaking to each other for 15 to 16 odd years, and they solved the entire problem in 3 minutes of walk. Just imagine what if they would have done it 15 years back. They lost 15 years of their precious life. Because of that, a lot of business decisions are not happened. Probably if you put it in a value, both would have lost 30 years combined of togetherness, 15 years of togetherness, and combined family decisions of 300, 400 crores loss. For what? For a small misunderstanding. So it means, what if I were given up in 6 months saying, oh, this family won't work out? Because working with very large matured families are very different. There are a lot of global family advisors who work with multi-billion-dollar industry, because when you're a multi-billion-dollar industry company, you have already figured out a maturity between family and business, and professionals are already there. But I worked with families sub 100 crores to 2,000 crores with not very less professionalization, where family is completely involved in business. For them, the pride, business, family, wealth, everything is the same. It's very complex. They will never do what you want to say. You have to be extremely patient. Probably from my school days to college days, I always been the mediator. When there's an issue in college, my principal used to call me and say, can you solve this between the students? So probably I'm a good listener, except my wife. My wife says I'm not a good listener. So except my wife, everybody thinks I'm a good listener. And you need to have empathy. You need to genuinely feel, genuinely take the responsibility. And being neutral is the most important thing. You cannot take sides. You cannot take sides. And I never work if the family member is a friend of mine or I know them, I don't take the job, because there's always a neutrality which has to be developed.
So Arun, from the stories and the experience you had, I could see that there is so much of pain that they had, in their families. Apart from whatever success they had in building their business, there is also so much of pain, psychological disturbances. This managing the family becomes a problem that even business problems they could have solved, but this problem becomes paramount. And definitely they need help. And I totally get, and when you speak also, I see that emotion of, that empathy naturally coming out of you. That's amazing. That's great. So now I think also this is like the purpose for you, right? That's driving you to do more of this kind of work, and fantastic. This is definitely a need, and I think very few people today in Tamil Nadu are capable enough to do this, and I'm really, really proud that you're able to do this for Kongu and the Tamil Nadu, and you're doing across South India, right? So if you look at Tamil Nadu and specifically Kongu region, Tamil Nadu region, we don't see those many number of big companies like the North Indian companies, the companies which are in Mumbai, Gujarat. We don't see that. And most of the companies primarily from India, primarily from South India and primarily from Tamil Nadu, you see, they don't grow beyond a point. How much of this family constitution is actually a barrier which is not helping them grow bigger? What's your take on it?
So which of families you've seen which have grown beyond certain limit? They had structure. And the structure is business governance, professionalization, and family governance, family constitution, family trust. Without that, rarely a business would have grown this much. You take companies like Murugappa, TVS, Pricol, LG, Trimali Chemicals, you name it, Emerald, Suguna, you name the companies, they've done GRT, Pothys, they've done a lot of, people have done family constitution, family structure, family governance models, business governance, getting to IPO, taking further capital. They've grown not because of money. They've grown because of the structure they built for the family. See, without structure, nothing grows.
It's like systems and process.
System and process for business, system and process. It's as simple as that.
Wonderful. So, how do someone begin with this structuring? You know, someone who doesn't know anything about how to go about structuring,
Correct.
where do they start from?
See, first I would say there's some, they should always, because it's a very vague, very detailed topic. In the first meeting, you cannot talk everything about the family, and nobody's willing to share. You could be one of the best in India, but no family, you put you amongst, nobody wants to share all the feelings. So what we understood is a lot of family advisors, one of my well-wisher and or man I respect a lot in this business is Dr. Krishnan. He's one of the finest family advisors of India. I've done more than 87, 88 family constitutions across India. Or he's technically a multi-billion-dollar company advisors. And he kept telling once, people, how much you talk, how much you're present in meetings. Families come only when there is a problem. There's a saying in Britain that take money when you don't need it, change when you don't need it. Because when you're pushed to change, you can't really change. You have to only adapt. You can only survive. You cannot grow with it. So then I understood, then we need to create a program in which they have to understand they're making mistakes. How do they know they're making mistakes? Then I took you from few doctors. You go and diagnose first. Only if you diagnose, you know you have a problem, you start working on it. Like at 40, you think you might have a heart attack, you start working on it. So we created a program called Family Business Health Check. So it's a 3 to 4 hour workshop that we do, where we talk about families who failed across the world and the patterns of failure and and we ask the family members how it could be solved. When they keep telling, and we call it as a 9 sense of family businesses. When they go through that exercise, then eventually I tell them that, okay, you don't need to tell me what is the problem in your family businesses. But out of the 9 family sins that I mentioned, if you're doing one thing which is strong, you will eventually go down. If you're doing 5 things slightly, there is a most chances that you might go down. If you're doing 9, most probably all families will do the 9 sins. And eventually you'll go down in 5 or 10 years. So there's nobody who can escape that wrath, right? And the 9 sins are, and
so I'm just curious, what are those 9 sins?
the 9 sins of family businesses are mismanaging the family conflicts, calling family business conflict mismanagement, unplanned succession planning or bad succession planning, bringing kids suddenly without a proper plan, without a proper training. It's the second most important thing. And unqualified leaders, like the father could be himself an unqualified leader. I could be a qualified leader for 300 crores. For building 1,000 crore, I may not be a qualified leader. Do we ask a question? Then nepotism. Only my son, my daughter, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law can be part of the business, right? That have killed more businesses. Then not taking right help from professionals, right? Trying to do everything by myself. Not taking help from professionals. Yeah. And the 6th one, misunderstanding of generation conflicts. Because every generation has a different conflict in way of life. Mismanaging the conflicts of family. Then holding on to very old practices. This is how I'll do my business. The business would have changed. That the ecosystem would have changed. Like it's like a test player telling that I will still play test in a T20. The entire environment stage has changed. So you're going to be utter failure, right? And too much of reliance on real estate. Investing everything back into real estate rather than investing back into business, building R&D, building product. And the most important 9th thing is undefined roles and responsibilities of family members in business. Everybody works. Nobody knows what they get, what may not get. What if somebody works more? What they get? So the success mantra is socialism in family, capitalism in business, which will save family and business. Whereas if socialism in business will kill the business, capitalism in family will kill the family. And 90% people do the reverse. That's why we don't see companies in Tamil Nadu over a period of time or South India not competing and becoming global giants or companies multi-billion-dollar industry, because over a period of time they get struck with decision-making structures. When we do this, families really understand, and we keep telling all the family members who attend the workshop saying, now you decide which part of life you are in. These are 9 issues. If you're doing it, it means the problems have started. You decide, vote among yourself, should I work with you? Because I bring the concept of democracy in everything. Because when I preach democracy and I say I will be the family advisor, I keep telling, work with me, work with anybody else, it's okay. But please do something for the family. And most likely, once they vote, nobody can tell that you brought the family advisor, so he will support you. So we try to cut the politics from the right beginning. So the best method for any family business to think about it is first try to go and attend FBN session, Family Business Network session. There are a lot of sessions, a lot of speakers, and take workshops on family business health check. Check how good your family business is. It's simple. It's just a 4 hours to decide your future.
So, Arun, have you ever had any of your clients coming to you without making any of these nine sins, or always they do some mistakes and then they'll reach out to you? How is it? Or is there anyone who's proactive?
Very rarely. And most people will make this mistake. Even if you're not making a mistake, theory of inversion says you predict your future is going to be bad and try to fix everything today. Probably he may not have done the mistakes, but probably his son or daughter-in-law or daughter, son-in-law could make that mistake. But you better put a structure to it. How you safeguard the family? How do you safeguard the family wealth? It's an area to understand. It's not limited to if there is a problem, you definitely need it. There is no problem, you still need it because in the future you avoid problems. It's a better, if you don't have problems, that's a better time to build a family constitution, build a family trust, because trust builds a lot of structures. How wealth can be transferred, move between families, how do you protect wealth for the future generation? There's a brilliant structures that they're available. So I don't think so anybody says no. There are people who don't agree to it over a period of time because they feel shy sharing their personal information. Because in small towns, people think, okay, you work with multiple people, will you share this information? But it's like lawyers. They also work with multiple families, but they don't share information. Likewise, we go by the oath of not sharing. I don't share a lot of information even to my wife or the friends because they might be judgmental and might confuse my decision. So we have our methods to hold it.
So Arun, if you look at many of these young entrepreneurs who are like 5 years, 10 years old, for them, they don't get to think about the succession planning because they're already in the growth mode, survival mode. So this thought doesn't crop up in their head.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at your business for 100 years beyond you, right? That's when you really think about all this, right? I heard in Japan there are companies which are 500 years old,
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
very
And
often.
in India, I'm sure there are companies more than 200 years old.
Very rarely.
Very rarely, I don't know. So, so at what point and what stage one should think about this, and how do they? How do you think they can take help from you or someone like you about the succession planning, having business beyond you? I think that is when the need of a coach like you actually comes in the picture for me.
Yeah.
So how do I actually, how should someone plan this?
It's a very good question. See, sometimes we go with the saying that when there's too many people in the family, we need help, right? Sometimes the right time to start a succession planning is when the kids are young. When your son is around 11, 12, and 13 and 14. Actually, a proper succession planning takes almost 8 to 10 years to structure somebody else, right? Just imagine most of the succession planning is happening, unfortunately, when the sons are 25, 26, where they're already in the business and they want the succession. It means it's a limited understanding that you could do. The best time in those days when a king wants his prince to be a king, right? Successor, he sends to Gurukul. They learn the 64 arts of management, warfare, everything, right? So it means to be a king, you need to understand the 64 ways of doing things, managing deserts, betrayals, structures, finance, agriculture, sastras, you name it, because that's how kings were built. So it means just because somebody is a king, he cannot be made into a king. A prince cannot be made into a king. When a son is born or daughter is born, the king decides that they're going to be the queen or the next successor. So they started training when they're 8 years old. They prepare themselves for 8 years old. They prepare themselves for the kids to go to Gurukul. Not saying my kid, I'm the king. I want my kid to be with me. No, he doesn't say that. He prepares them, sends them for 13, 14 years, right? Sees them once in a while because that is required to be a king. If you want your kids to take over, your daughter's and son wants to take over, you have to prepare them for the seat. And it has to start as little as 10, 12 years. Let's not be the king's side. At least 11, 12, you decide what you want to be. So you take 10 to 12 years time, right, for them to coach themselves, choose the right education, choose the right structure to be where they are today. I've seen very rare case studies where a person has started this 12 years in E-Road, right? At 30, the son has taken over the company.
Wow.
And he's almost 18 years old, but he's gone through a lot of, he's lost his childhood, a lot of stuff has happened. He hated his father in his childhood. But today at 60, he celebrated his father's birthday, 60, with a grand fanfare. And over the meeting, he said, I'm the person I love, the one person I love in the world is my father. Then out of the meeting, he said, Arun, it's okay to be hated when they are young. And it's superb to be loved when you're old. But versus fathers are loved when kids are young, and they're hated when they're cross 60 because they've missed the kids' future dreams by pampering them. So if you want to prepare the kings, if you want to prepare the princess, even if you're a single entrepreneur, you start it early. Catch them young and change them young.
So what's your recommendation? Is there any program out there that they can put their children?
There's no program as such, but actually this is a question I keep asking, and I also understand we have a limited bandwidth to work with families, right? And there are families who have dire help to need. So I think that's where we focus. But with my partner, GV Suresh, I've also been thinking, he's a veteran and an anthropologist. He's one of the finest corporate strategists in India, who's worked with a lot of MNCs, a lot of big multi-billion dollar companies. And he's a finest doctorate in anthropology. Now we both are working with experts. We're working on a course model where it's like 11-month course where the fathers and the family could get admitted to the course over a period of 11 months, the hybrid model, where they learn the art of structuring the kids in such a way they can bring a successor.
Wonderful.
And we're also creating another session where sons between 20 to 30 who will be part of the exercise to understand how to manage the politics structure within the business, within the family. How do you manage it? Like from psychology angle, from human angle, how do you so? These are 2 courses that we're planning, but we have not launched it yet because it needs a lot of time and spend. Because even if not for commercial purposes, I really want to do this because there are so many families need help, and there are very little people to help. There are hardly 20 full-time family coaches, but I would say India needs 1,000 coaches. Yesterday, they should have been there yesterday. It's not here today. It's not going to happen in the future. So we are trying to build the courses so at least we can train hundreds of families where we need not directly get involved. So that is something that has been brewing within us for quite some time. I think we are in the final stages of that.
I see, this. I mean, I see this has got a huge potential because any entrepreneur, any businessman, when they're passing it to their, offspring, children, there is so much fear they have. For them, probably, especially, they would have had all the struggle of building the business to a level, whatever they have achieved, and then the fear is, what if their children would lose it? What if they mismanage it? What if they make some mistakes? So that is the biggest problem persists today. That is the biggest problem. That is also the problem for the youngsters. When they come in, they'll always be judged. I think a program like this can actually true up the parents' expectation and the children's expectation, and this could be a phenomenal opportunity, I see.
And I would say there's a saying I always keep telling: fear is good.
Fear is good.
Good, because only fear will make you to think, okay, I have to move ahead. And also, I always tell parents that it's okay your kids fail when you're alive. When they fail after you have gone, there's no one in this world to bring them in. It's only the fathers and mother who can help them. So it's okay to take risk when you're alive.
The problem is the first generation grows and builds. The second generation destroys. So, that's the perception. Because today, if you look at the parents' problem is that children are having fun. They don't understand the struggles they had. They have been pampered. They have been gifted. The children are gifted. They are living in abundance. So naturally, the first generation thinks that the second generation is going to destroy, and that's why the conflict. That's where the conflict begins.
Correct.
A program like this would actually be the only solution, is what I think.
But true. See, it's not managing people. It's only managing people. Managing expectations comes from. So there is only 2 things which drives human: to be loved and to be recognized. Whoever is not recognized, they fight because they are not recognized. They fight because they are not loved. If in the entire course, we teach them on how to be loved, how to be recognized, how to give love, and how to recognize someone. Right? Making the older generation to understand the younger generation to understand the old. I think that is a success. If we could do that, I think there's nothing like it.
So also, what if the second generation is not uninterested? How do you approach it?
I would say, most cases, the second generation was interested because they've come across, even Kotak would have recently told about it, that All the second generation want to run the family offices and assets and want to have a lifestyle. Nobody wants to uh, g- get to the field and get dirty. And that's order of the day, right? Awful people, tough situation build tough men. Tough men build great country, and great country will build sophisticated men, and sophisticated men will build weak society. Weak society will go down, and again tough situation will come, and it's
It's a
order of the
cycle.
day. It's a cycle. So you can't defeat nature. Nobody can defeat nature. But only thing is we can postpone it. See, everybody falls, but if you fall, you fall like a rose petal, not like a iron rod. You just bang. You one day something happens, you just go down. No, fall like a rose petal, so nobody gets hurt.
How do, for a first generation father, how will he balance between a meritorious employee versus the bloodline?
Correct.
How should he handle?
So it's a very good question. And this is where fathers struggle. See, either you succeed at certain stage, an entrepreneur gets two choices. Do you want to be the best MD and chairman of the company, or you want to be the father? You can't choose both. You have to choose one. You choose the one, you lose as a father. In the perception of a son, the father likes his business more than me. It's a perception he takes, right? And he has grudges. There are instances where sons don't talk to fathers for years. There are sons and sons who have gone to US and abroad who will not even come back. They're not in good terms, talking terms with dad. I know dads who cry, say, I have not spoken to I made a mistake of doing that. But there is no straight answer to it. It depends on people to people, structure to structure. But what we understood is when there's a defined structure, the kids listen to it. For example, there's one family which I met in Karnataka. They're going for an IPO. I think most likely in 27 they're going for an IPO. I asked him why. He said, I couldn't bring conscience to among my kids. If this goes, they will split this business. I want to get it listed. Because I'm going to get listed in the public market, I need to have independent directors. I need to form a board. I need to form a structure. So now, because there is also wealth and everything involved, kids now they wanted to take a decision. I'm not postponing my decision of who's going to be the MD seat because I'm going to tell I'm going to be the chairman. They're going to be independent directors. So I'm going to have a voting rights. So if you have the voting rights, you have to start perform. Every 3 months you have to perform because in IPO you have to perform. You cannot say it's my father's company or something. So I'm creating a pressure method. So where the family thinks they have to perform, or they relax at home, they don't have any power, they can enjoy the money. If they want power, they have to come, they have to perform. So it's not me from a father's company, I'm making into a public limited company. So he becomes an employee or partial owner of the company. He's not the full owner. I kind of like that perspective because actually there are problems. The problem which family advisor couldn't solve, he solved it by going for an IPO. He has to structure. Because of that, he has put a family trust. Because of that, he has put a family constitution. So it means you have to adhere. And he's got a clear fine system, dividend policy, everything is brought into picture. Because there's a target, everybody is willing to change. Without a target, it's sometimes it's very difficult to make sense to everybody. So here he is one as a father. He is ensuring the business is continuing even the kids are not working. Because of this liquidation, people also see money. When people see money and they also see progress, there is less issues in the business. Otherwise, if you have more assets, there's more issues in the family. So everything is put in the business, there's less issues in the family.
How do you handle founders' insecurity of losing control?
See, in South, especially the area I work in, that's the most prominent thing. Because a small entrepreneur, as even a 100, 2,000 crore company, for him, he's respected because of the business he's in. He comes from a very poor background, suffering background. He has built an empire and everybody listens to him. Everybody salutes him. It's very tough for him to step down. Very tough. You lose respect. Losing respect, they tell you to be loud and to be recognized. To be loud is taken care. But his only worry is, what if I'm not respected? How can I come down?
What should he do? Is just that mindset shift he should have?
No, it means we have to create a system in such a way that we create a policy in such a way his interests are being protected. Just look at the family, the Wadia family. Now, if the father is fighting with the son, he lives in a 2 or 3 bedroom house, if I'm not wrong. The man who controlled Bombay once point of time, who controlled Mumbai, today is fighting cases with his son for basic needs and power. because it's unplanned succession planning is done. What if in one cases we have done, we understood there's one brother had extreme insecurity. So we created a system in such a way that we created a family trust, right? We say you are at 60. At 65 is the retiring age for a family member. At 65, at 60, you choose your next successor, right? Because they need 5 years' time. Then we created another separate company and we created a PR against him. Wherever he goes in the market, he is put as a chairman and vice chairman of the company. And we created a hobby for him where he gets into the social angle of businesses. So he runs the show. There are a lot of PR, whenever the new employee comes to the business, there is one town hall every month that happens where the chairman, vice chairman comes and talk about how we build these enterprises. So it means we created a image where his image is being respected every month. There are sayings across saying, oh, chairman says, vice chairman says. You will not see any director, any son's photo anywhere in the group. Even the news PR, only his face will be there. But suddenly we created a system in which said every year, even after retirement, what is the voting rights he has in the business? It's clearly defined, right? What is the shareholding he has? For example, out of the share he holds, say he holds around 22% in the company, with we say 6% of his shares, he can dilute to anybody if there is an issue in the family, if he is unrespected or if he is disrespected. Versus the 18% of the share belongs to the company, belongs to him, but without the company's approval, board's approval, he will not be able to do. So it means even tomorrow somebody succeeds him, he wants to be powerful, he thinks of disrespecting him, he cannot do it because he still holds a 6% of free will shares that he can dilute any given point of time without anybody's approval. And nobody can cut his
18%.
Yes, dividends which goes. If company makes a profit, we have clearly defined this is the dividend which has to go to him every single year. So nobody will question what he spends. It's discreet. So we are protecting his respect. Nobody can question what he spends, and nobody can deny what he deserves. And in case somebody goes bad, he still can exercise his rights on his voting till he's die. Then it took 2 years for us to do, but he's eventually agreed. Yes, even if he's retiring, he's telling to the market saying that we created a small narrative, we hired a PR agency, and we created saying that he is not, kids are not taken over from him. He is giving to the kids. It's two different narratives. Kids are taking his riot. I gave the old business to the kids. I'm taking of the new business. And I'm a shareholder. I'm going to get listed. I'm going to focus on the board. I'm going to focus on the social service of them. So we created an alter ego, and we created an alter ego for him. Now he's so happy retiring.
Why large business families are moving their assets to trusts?
So there are two things. Let's not look at the law perspective. Inheritance law is coming. It might come, it may not come, right? See, if you're keeping assets in an individual's name, right, it can always be challenged. And kids can do, it's that their free will, they can do whatever with the assets. When you put a family trust, it's still a private limited company, it still pays taxes, but you make the family as a member of the trust. So it means it's not easy to sell an asset or individuals taking rough calls and doing it. For example, the kids are married. For God forbid something happens to the kids, the spouses are not doesn't want to be part of the family anymore, right? It's very tough to challenge the assets because you're challenging a common trust. You're not challenging an individual. So as long as somebody is part of the trust, they can enjoy the assets and the benefits and the prosperity of the trust. Once they decide, the kids, spouses decides to go away, the family is protected from unnecessary dwindling of assets or being challenged. That is one. And it gives a surety that, oh, I cannot pick a fight, because picking a fight is not a good option because everything is in a trust, right? So it brings a lot of structure in your wealth. It gives, you cannot just dilute your shares. You cannot just dilute, you need approval mechanism to do it. So it's like how you build a governance. It gives a lot of predictability in how wealth can be managed. And it's definitely something that families cannot afford to miss. There are a number of families who have failed not doing this. They suffered. But trust almost protects, and also protects you from inheritance taxes in case, because you're not inheriting the assets. It's part of a trust, and you become only a member of the trust, and you enjoy the same benefits of enjoying it.
Every family generally moves their assets into trusts?
No, not really, not really. This is just something that's picking up in India. Probably since there is a news that inheritance tax might come any point of time, now they're giving a serious thing, because we Indians sometimes we need an external push, right? We don't act when it's available. So I think the expectation of inheritance being applied, and the number of divorce cases which is happening, number of family fights, between sibling fights which is happening, cousin fights. Looking at it, families think it's better to manage the wealth, like how we're structuring the family, how we're structuring the business. It's better to structure the wealth as well. So there's also tax benefit. There are certain taxes benefits if it's a it's irrevocable trust. So I think a lot of families have started thinking about it. I would see there will be a plethora of families who will do family trust. And I would always say you cannot do a family trust without a family constitution.
Should the next generation work outside of the business before joining the family business? Because recently, the Vijay Mallya's interview, I don't know if you watched it. I think his father deliberately put him in some other company in the
Correct.
US, and he was working there, and then he joined back later into his family business. What is your thought on it, and how do you think the succession planning can be done better?
Well, that's a brilliant thought. But I've also read about Malaya's father who done that. But I'm telling you, it's the right way to do it. Because if you look back in those days, at least 100 years back, Nagaratars, who was called as Natukota Chettiars, when they ruled Burma technically by financials, they had this beautiful model of succession planning. It means with the son, once they will not work for the family. First they have to come in, then they work as a podian. It's called podian. As a podian, you work for, podian means the small guy. He has to do all the basic job in some other company, not related to him, in a business. Then after a couple of years, he became into the Kanakal. That is, he started looking at finances, structures, and everything. Then he has to become a Pangal, Kutali. Kutali is like jointly working with each other. They started work, will do business with somebody else, try to understand the finances, structures, how business runs. Then they become the Mudalali. Mudalali is, they have kept a 16-year time period for sons at 13 years, join as a podian to some other organization, work outside, and to become a Modalali, that is owner of the business, it takes 50 to 16 years for them to be there. By 35, 38, they'll become the owners of the business, but they'll become the rightful heirs of the. So I will still vouch saying that, because if you're putting them directly, his problems will not be. There are families which says minimum 5 years work experience with 2 hikes in salary and business, because you need to prove to the world that you're better. You go through the regiments of what the nature says, then come back to business. Even if you come in, you should not be a director of the company, because ownership, you can never put that mind into a kid saying you're the owner. Nobody's an owner. It's a, I ran this relay. I'm going to give this relay. You're a custodian, and you pass it on to the next generation, right? From owners, you should become a custodian of family businesses. I think that's where
I think
this is very imperative, and it's, I vouch for it. And many families, including Murugappa family, has this in their structures.
it puts a false ego, right? You being the owner,
Yes.
it puts a false ego on
Yes, yes. Ego is right, but false ego will kill you.
you. Yeah. There are more Indian women in business today, and
Yeah.
how do you see daughters getting into the business succession now? How do you see the trend? You see that equality, or you still that patriarchal dominance is still there?
So patriarchal dominance is still there, right? But efficiency and merit doesn't belong to men alone, right? There are many women daughters who've been extremely successful, extremely capable. And I think a lot of families have changed. See, when there is a lot of education which is happening over a period of time, I think a lot of families need daughters as a succession. But the only stopgap thinking which sees is, what if they get married, right? Sometimes women has to go through multiple avatars, like being somebody's wife, somebody's mother, and that continuity is being questioned by a lot of families. Yet, but still, there is, when you professionalize the company, right? This could be easily managed. This happens only if you're not professionalized and the entire business is relying upon the daughter and son. Again, then the question of, oh, how can women wear 3 avatars and still manage it? But once it's professionalized, yes. And I'm telling you, the key part of any succession planning, family constituent structure is the women in the family. Without women's approval, without women's yes and no, I don't think any constitution could be complete. I think more women coming in is welcoming, and we focus We work with a lot of families where there are a lot of women involved, women successors. There is one case that we're working with three daughters and one son in a family, and there are five daughters and one son with between three brothers. So I think it's a welcoming thing that women are more participating. But as you rightly said, still there are cases where women even challenge their directorship, right? Even at different maturity, that is also happening still. But that is, we are evolving as a country. But yes, we are progressing, and I see women participating, especially in South of India. It's phenomenal.
So, beyond a point, right? Do you think governance? Do you think governance decide survival than the entrepreneurship and innovation?
See, there is certain madness to an entrepreneur.
Say that
There
again.
is certain madness to an entrepreneur which can never be measured by any governance or structure, right? Because a great entrepreneur is someone who sees what others can't see by structure. See, what we say is structure is not everything. Sometimes we cannot overdo on. Say, for I will always say, a jockey's importance is not seen if there is no horse. A jockey's survival is purely focused on the horse.
Fantastic.
Without a horse instincts, with his capability, it means a consultant or an advisor is only a man who says correct people when they are wrong. But they are not the alternative to the entrepreneur's capability. I always have the gap. There is certain madness, certain tests an entrepreneur should keep doing. He keep failing, he keep building, and that resilience and will is inborn. And sometimes it's cultivated, right? So it's always cultivated. Some people have as inborn. So inborn, you're blessed. If not, you build it in your kids, and eventually they will run it, and you bring professions to it, still manage it, right? So it means that risk-taking ability, that capability is always there. That's how great economies are built.
Wonderful. Family CEO, professional CEO.
Family CEO is better if you can cultivate it. A professional is even better. In these modern days, I would choose a professional CEO and family managed business.
Constitution, verbal arrangement.
Constitution, because verbal, you forget when you close the door.
Constitution wins.
Yeah, always.
Trust versus will.
A will inside a trust.
What do you mean?
A will is a fixed document. It can't be kept changing over a period of times. People change, things change, but it's not will. People, for sometimes they forget it, right? But a trust protects the family in ways a will cannot do. Like bring discipline to it, bring participants to it, trust people meet together. They have a board system, they have a voting system, right? They know how to sell it. It's will talks about who gets what, but trust tell how we get and how we grow together. It's about togetherness. Will is about individualism, but trust is about groupism. I mean, I not groupism was the right word. It's togetherness.
Emotion, governance.
Governance followed by empathy.
Yeah, that's nice. What is your message to the first generation businessmen and entrepreneurs who are about to pass it to the second generation?
Change when it's not required. When you're pushed, you can only survive. You cannot build on it.
Which means before even it is needed, you need to
Like always,
start
I
working
like
on
your egg theory, right? Egg and omelette theory. When an external force is trying to break the eggshell, you become an omelette. You are insignificant. You don't have a life in it,
Yeah.
right? It's consumed by somebody else. But when you break from within, when it's not required, right? An egg can survive even if it's not broken, right? It can be used for an omelette. But if a chick, which is growing inside, doesn't have the strength, but it keep hitting, it keep open. When it opens, a new life is born. So you start when it's not required. You will gain power and you'll grow bigger. But when external force is pushing you to do something, it mostly you become the weakest section in the society.
If business families are listening to this podcast, what do you think they should do after watching this podcast?
I would say acceptance. Acceptance gives you peace. Acceptance will make you grow. First, if you agree there could be a problem, there is a problem. Acknowledging, if I listen to the podcast, if some family could think and agree, yes, they have problem, they have to work on it. I think that is the best thing which can happen out of the podcast. Acceptance that there is problem, accepting there could be a problem.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Arun. It was wonderful. I hope my entire audience would have enjoyed the session today. It gave a new perspective because in 10x League podcast, we talk about entrepreneurship, mindset shifts, so on and so forth. But this is a very, very different topic altogether because this talks about the succession planning. I think this is very, very important and imperative for any entrepreneur to think really, really beyond their lifetime. I think very useful. I'm sure a lot of people would reach out to you, and I wish you good luck with your journey of helping business houses, family houses, and help grow Indian economy. Thank you so much, Arun.
Thank you so much, Arun.